Salutations readers, welcome to or welcome back to the State of Go Writer channel. My name is Nkechi, and for today, I'm going to be talking about some books that I hope to read for spring. So, I'm not really one for TBRs unless it's like a readathon or something, because I am such a mood reader. Even for readathon TBRs, I'm such a mood reader that things just be happening. But even though following a TBR for a month or for a couple of weeks or even a week is such a hard thing for me, I am fascinated with like seasonal TBRs. I find them to be something like, I think this could really work for me. I think I can actually follow through with that. Despite the fact I am a mood reader, I do think having an idea of like what to prioritize, what I feel like I'm in the mood for this season to read, is something that actually works for me, I think. But also, I do like watching seasonal TBR videos. I find it to be very, very interesting. So I'm gonna try that, because why not? And this will be interesting too, because like if you don't know, I live in Minnesota, and our spring tends to be pretty short, honestly. They don't usually last. But this past winter has been pretty warm, so I'm kind of curious how our spring is gonna look like. But if it does end up starting to be really like spring, then like, hey, this is the perfect time to actually have some reads that might fit the vibe. I mean, even though it probably won't actually. Now I'm looking at it, actually, it does not fit the spring vibe at all. I just go by whatever I want to do for the next 3 months. I mean, March, April, May, like, I don't think any of these books really fit that, honestly. But hey, it fits to what I want to do for the next 3 months, okay? It is what it is. Anyways, let's stop with the rambling and stuff. Let's just get into the books I hope and plan to read in the next 3 months. So I put them in like 3 categories here. I have obligation reads, which are basically arcs, honestly. I have some books that I have an idea that I want to read for content, but like again, it's based on my mood reading tendencies, and then I have some priority reads for other things. Anyways, let's just get through the obligation reads. So first up on the Kindle here, I actually have several arcs here, and I'm not really gonna go too in depth as far as what they're about or anything, mostly because of the fact that I tend to request arcs without really knowing what these books are about. I just know genre, author, publisher, and release dates, and whatever intrigued me to request in the first place. That's all I got for y'all. One for sure is The Last Spy Hunter by, what is this author's name? Salini Goldenberg? Honestly, I should know this because I'm literally currently reading this arc. I don't know why I'm blanking on the author's name. I don't know. But it is a Thai-inspired fantasy. It is a debut novel. It is published by Angry Books. Comes out April 9th. And I'm intrigued by this because the fact this is a Thai-inspired fantasy. And so far, I do like it. For the fact that I have already started it. It's first week in March, and I've already started this arc, so we already doing good on our progress on my arc reading. Next, I have Immortal Pleasures by V. Castro, and I'm really excited about this one. It's a dark fantasy horror following an Aztec vampire woman, but I think she also falls in love, I think, or something. I don't know, something like that. And it's published by Del Rey, and it comes out April 16th. Next up, I have Smile and Be a Villain by Yves Donnellan. This is actually self-published, and it comes out April 16th. This is a queer Hamlet retelling. It's the first book in a duology. This first book pretty much predates Hamlet, and the author says it does not require knowledge of Hamlet to actually read this book. So yeah, I'm very much excited about this one. I loved reading Hamlet when I was reading it in high school, so I'm here to read this retelling. Then I recently actually got approved for this arc, but I'm so happy that I got an arc for it. And it's The Brides of High Hill by Niveau, the 5th installment in the Singing Hill cycle. Yeah, I'm really excited about this one. I've already read the first 4 novellas. I already own all 4 novellas, so I am so excited to read the 5th one. And I think this is like a gothic fantasy. Things like gothic fantasy, foxes here, which I do like as animals. So it already sounds like a good installment. So that's all I need to know. And it comes out May 7th. Tor.com. My next arc is another Tor.com arc, and this is Last Arc Dreaming by Suyi Davis Okomboa. This is a sci-fi climate fiction novella. So I see myself reading that pretty soon. And it comes out May 21st. I've never read anything from this author, but that's pretty much all I really need to know. I don't need to know too much. And then last, but certainly not least, for sure, I have Evocation by S.T. Gibson. This comes out May 28th. Is the first book in the Summoner Circle series. It's a quartet, actually. And we are following a sorcerer witch guy named David, and he has to trust his ex-boyfriend Reese, who also Reese's astrologer wife Moira. So we'll be following these three in a polyamory situation here. It's a cult, urban fantasy, romance. So yeah. And I'm so thankful to Angry Robot Books for giving me a physical arc of Evocation. One of my most anticipated releases of the year, and I'm very much excited to dive into this one. And I do have one more arc, but honestly, that particular arc doesn't come until August, so like it's not really a priority or an obligation for right now, honestly. But since I don't have many other arcs besides these ones, since these are pretty much April, May releases, this other arc here is a book that comes out in August, so months away. But if I feel like it, I have time to read it, I could read The Dead Cattail Assassins by P. Jelly Clark. It is also short. It's Tor.com, comes out August 6th. We shall see. I don't know much about it, but I'm here for P. Jelly Clark. I trust his writing. We shall see. I don't know if I'll get to it in the next 3 months. If I don't, it's not a big deal. But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to reading The Dead Cattail Assassins. So that's pretty much it as far as obligation reads, which is, again, all of the arcs. So now let's get into the books that I kind of hope to read for content. Again, completely mood reading, so this is actually going to be a pretty short list, honestly. I don't like the idea of having to read books for content, but I do like seeing books on my shelf and being inspired to make content out of those books whenever I'm in the mood to read them. So whenever I'm in the mood to read them, or I get an audiobook or what have you from my library to read it, then I'll make the content regarding it. I'm not going to really say what content I'll make out of it because I want it to be a surprise. But my first book here I have. So the first book I have in this particular category, Labyrinth's Heart by M.A. Carrick. This is the third and final book in the Broken Rose trilogy, and it is smaller than, height-wise, it is smaller than my other copies because this is the UK version. But I'm sticking with this particular copy because I got it off of Pango for cheap. I'm here for convenience and the pricing, okay? So yeah, not much to really say about this one, but I am really excited to get into this one. But this is very much dependent on my audiobook hold. Currently it says 10 weeks, so honestly that could mean that I could get it March, April maybe even May. I hope not May, but we shall see. And I definitely see myself annotating this third and final book in the series, and I really want to talk about this book in the series, so something to look forward to in the next few months. And then I also want to read Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. This is the first book in the Strange the Dreamer duology. I do own both books. I don't really know much about what this series is really about, but I have seen a lot of hype about it, especially for people who are nostalgic about it. And I have heard that it's pretty much comparable to Erin Morgenstern's writing. Some people even say Laini Taylor is better at it than Erin Morgenstern, so I won't be the judge of that. So yeah, we shall see. And then last, but certainly not least, I also want to read The Sword of Kaigen by Ama Wong. This is a standalone fantasy, epic fantasy saga kind of a book. It's also independently published. It's self-published, as well. And I have been hearing a lot about how this is pretty much revered as one of the best self-published fantasy books. And Ama Wong is a renowned, one of the best self-published authors as far as fantasy. So I'm well, that's what y'all said about her in this book, so let me be the judge of that. And maybe I'll even read Blood over Brighthaven as well. But I definitely want to try out the Sword of Kaigen. I've heard so many great things, so many raving reviews, very little critique here, so I'm very curious to see my thoughts on this book. And it's a long book though. It's over 600 pages, and the binding's a little bit stiffer, but it's still a solid enough book. I'm very curious to see how I feel about The Sword of Kaigen. And now the last and final character I have here are just some priority reads, honestly. Books that I really see myself reading in the next few months, or at least books I'm hoping to start in the next few months. We shall see, but I do really want to put a little bit more effort actually into starting and reading these books. First up here I have Salt Houses by Hala Alyan. So this is this a debut novel? I don't know, this is her debut novel. Okay, I don't know if this is a debut novel or not. I think she's more known for her poetry collections. So this could be a debut novel. I'm still not sure though. But I do know this follows a Palestinian family of 3 generations, and it starts off on the eve of someone's wedding, of some daughter's wedding, and she reads her future in the cup of coffee dregs, and then the family is uprooted in the wake of the 6-Day War of 1967. Very much interesting. Palestinian author, Palestinian family saga. I think it's like, I don't know, it's historical fiction, lit fic, maybe some gets into contemporary fiction, maybe, we shall see. But I know for sure it's at least historical fiction, literary fiction for sure. So whenever in the mood for a general fiction, which I tend to every blue moon or something, but I do want to put in the effort to at least try to read Salt Houses, since it is one of the few books written by Palestinian authors that I own now on my shelf that I want to put in the time and effort to read. Now this next book here, I don't think really needs an introduction, because y'all already see me talk about this book and how that I need to put in a freaking TBR or else I'm never gonna read it. Might I say, do I need to say anything? Like, do I really need to? I feel like this speaks for itself. Y'all know what the book is. Y'all already know how intimidated I am about it. We need to start reading this series, okay? If I want to fulfill my reading goal. One of my reading goals. If you do not know, it's The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu. It's the first book in the Dandelion Dynasty. Just a quartet of really long books, but really good books. And I trust Ken Liu as an author, as a writer, but I'm intimidated. But we need to start somewhere. Next up is actually a book from These Books Will Self-Destruct. If in like a year video, that self-destruct TBR video, I'll link it down in the description if you have not seen it already, or in the cards even too. But I do really want to read Pure Nessie by Susanna Clark. I'm not sure what about this book says I want to read it in spring, but I don't know. It's just a short fantasy book. It's not very long, actually. It's actually less than 250 pages, and I've heard so many good things about it. I don't know, it has really intrigued me, and I've had it on the shelf for like nearly 2 years now. So I just wanted to just give it a shot. It could be a weird fantasy book that I might like. I tend to like some weird fantasies, so why not? And then I also want to make a dent in my reading goal of reading Shakespeare, like 3 Shakespeare plays. So I want to do a reread of Hamlet specifically. At first, I kind of want to reread it for Smile and Be a Villain, but since the author says you don't need to reread or read Hamlet to understand their novel, I'm like, okay, fine. But I still want to reread Hamlet though, regardless, because I want to like get all the Easter eggs and stuff. And I want to remind myself why I even loved Hamlet in the first place. Like, why am I intrigued to even read a Hamlet retelling? Why are Hamlet retellings at all, you know? So I'm gonna definitely reread Hamlet. I'm gonna take my time with it. I can't rush it, especially with the way that he writes things. And if I'm confused about something, I'm definitely going to be looking things up. But we shall see though. I'll see what I can pick up on my own and then do further exploration and reading for sure on Hamlet and some analyses. And then last, but certainly not least, I want to read Just Happy to Be Here by Naomi Kanakia. This is the March Indie Book Club pick. I do got this for my library, so I do need to be reading it in March. I haven't not started reading it yet, even though we're already a week in, but I do plan to read it soon, at least. This is a young adult, queer, contemporary book. It's pretty short. I think we're following a trans girl character. That's kind of all I know. And honestly, that's all I really need to know. I don't need to know too much else. Alrighty, y'all. So, these... oh boy. Let's see if I can get it all. These... oh dear, can y'all see it? There you go. These are all the books, and including my Kindle up there with all my arcs. These are all the books that I plan to read in the next 3 months. I hope to read this stuff in March, April, and May. We shall see though. Nothing is set in stone here. Again, mood reading, and also I do borrow a lot of books from my library. So if the library takes over my TBR, which usually does every single month, so it won't be surprised if it happens every season either, but I will try to get through all these books as I can, especially the ones that I said for content. But anyways, thank you all for coming on to this video. That's pretty much all I have here. Do y'all do seasonal TBRs? Like, do y'all have one like spring, summer, fall, winter kind of thing? I'm very curious. I want to know if you do seasonal TBRs, especially if you're a mood reader. Like, even as a mood reader, do you try to do like a TBR or something like a hopeful, like mood reading hopefuls or something? I don't know. I'm very curious. Please let me know in the comments down below. If you made it this far into the video You just want to leave me an emoji, you don't have much else to say, leave me some sort of a flower emoji along with some sort of a book emoji, whether it's a book stack or just a book or something. So thank you all again for coming on to this video, and I hope to see you all in my next one. Bye.